Can I take my revenues from 1 crore to 10 crores using AI? Definitely possible. You don't need to add more team members. But do I want to get from 10 to 1,000 crores? You need an organization.
Right.
That is a different take. And AI is let's say it's your airplane. You need to know how to use it.
Hi everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Kofluence Unplugged. Hi, I'm your host Aditra. Now today we are diving into a very interesting topic: how artificial intelligence and influencer marketing is giving birth to a new phenomenon that is called personalization 2.0. And guess what? We have an industry veteran, a very fascinating guest who will be shedding more light into this topic. With over 20 years of experience in journalism, Vishal Krishna has been at the front and center of societal change. He has seen how storytelling has evolved over the years, with which he has formed his company, the upstreamlife.com, which tells stories about businesses and companies that bring about actual change. He believes that responsible storytelling is the only way brands and companies can be accountable to their stakeholders. So, we would love to know more about it from him. So, without any further ado, please help me in welcoming Vishal. Hi, Vishal, how are you doing?
I'm very good, Aritra. The only thing fascinating about me is that I've survived long enough to tell stories. How are you?
I'm good. Vishal, I've already spoken to the guests about you, but if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Okay, quite a long career. So I intended to be a businessman, but that didn't happen at that time. So I was in England at the time, and I was very good at writing. I was writing blogs way before they called it blogs. So I was reviewing music, I was reviewing politics. So what happened was I finished this course. I was also a professional cricketer, mind you, at the time. I was in England, so I went to this program director and I said, I don't know what to do in my life. What do I do? He said, look, you can write and you can think a little. So I can recommend you to a magazine or a newspaper. And lo and behold, he recommended me to Indian Express. But after the recommendation, the job didn't happen. So I took up the job. 6 months later, when they wrote me an email saying, hey, we want you to come back, the first interview that they called me, I went there and I sat for 6 hours. Nobody showed up in the Indian Express office. Nobody showed up. So I walked away and I was jobless. I went to a liquor company, worked there for a month, didn't settle in. But yeah, 6 months later, they wrote a mail and that changed my life. To cut a long story short, it's been a long career. I can take you through it. But what I do at this point of time, after 20 years of storytelling, is I built something called the upstreamlife.com. What I do is, apart from storytelling, I go to corporates and I tell them the importance of corporate storytelling to the stakeholders at large. They have to think like a media company. Basically, think like a media entity at this point of time. Today, social media enables you to go anywhere, publish anywhere. You don't have to walk to a press or a publishing house and say, hey, I have a great story to tell. They'll never write about you because they have very limited space and they haven't evolved. So I can tell you about how the media is evolving, and that's important. That's the reason the media is very stuck in its ideas, right? They will only write if it's either paid or they will only write if it's interesting breaking news. There's nothing in between, unlike the old days when there were a lot of research-led articles. So I decided, why not go tell corporate that if you tell your own stories, I'll help you create it, design it, produce it, of course, podcast, audio, video, whatever, and then distribute it for you. Or you can do your own distribution and I become your editor in-house, right? So that's what the Upstream Life does. Apart from that, we've done more than 100 episodes focusing on technology, the impact of technology in society. I also like talking about sustainability. Sustainability in everything. It can be gender, it can be environment, it can also be sustainability in terms of what value can a media organization add to a young person's life. Can I I don't want to use the word influence. Can I set the agenda to make them think to become entrepreneurs? Well, that's what the upstreamlife.com is all about. But that's like cutting a long career into few minutes and 4 minutes or something of that sort. I can go into detail if you, depending on what you want to know.
So from that to now media entrepreneurship, and now you own your own media company.
Mm-hmm.
So through all these years, through all these transitions in your career, how has your approach to storytelling evolved?
Um, I think that's the best question at this point of time, because I have I was a curious person. So all storytelling begins with curiosity.
Right.
And if anybody is watching this and if they don't do things out of curiosity, they'll never be good storytellers. So I was essentially a curious kid. I, so much so that I'd ask questions in school and get thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those days you have to realize in the 80s in India, you cannot question anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I would question based on logic, um, and especially history. For example, I would fail in every subject except history and English. Okay, so they would ask me questions like, so okay, this so and so person conquered so and so everything, but then I would ask questions like, what does this even mean economically? I would not know what the word economics, but I would say, what did it mean to the people out there? What changed? Okay, because I was so not good with dates, I would ask, okay, what is the impact that this person's made otherwise? So, we grew up in a time when people said you should not ask questions. So, hence, I realized that I can tell stories to others. So I'd go out and I would read up on all this history, and I would go and tell stories to friends. I'd go tell stories to anybody who would want to listen to Roman history. I had loved Roman history at the time. So storytelling came to me from childhood, but then I had this misconception that when you went to journalism, you can make a great storyteller, pardon me. You have to realize journalism is not storytelling. Journalism is journalism. They call it a story, but it's actually reporting.
Right.
It's reporting different facts and setting out an objective view there, and the objective view does not exist anymore. Or did it even exist? I come to question that now. So the transition to good storytelling happened for various reasons. One is, if people are watching this, storytelling happens not naturally. You either are brilliantly talented with language and you can weave in your imagination to write good things, or you experience all the things that happen to you personally, and then you combine it with your experience at work, and then you bring perspective. Storytelling comes from experience. Storytelling comes from your ability to talk or even write language in a very imaginative manner, and having somebody glued into the story. If you read, for example, Gore Vidal is my favorite author. If you read the first 2-3 pages, you will never want to close the book. So it's a hook. That's very important. So the transitioning took me time. You have to realize I made a point that I wanted to be a businessman because I came from a business family. So there were multiple confusions. Do I want to be a cricketer? Do I want to be a businessman? And yes, I tell stories as a passion. So to transition into real-time storytelling, it happened because of good mentors. And the good mentors were bankers who had left their traditional jobs and had come into journalism, business people who had left their traditional businesses and come into journalism. And that is what made my life as someone who loves storytelling for the rest of 2 decades now. And I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to be telling stories. So curiosity, people around you, and the fact that you have to work on your diction, your language, your writing ability is what made me transition into not a great or a good story. I'm a storyteller now. Now I can call myself that. But 20 years ago, I was just another kid running around trying to figure out, why does this happen? And the motives were, why does society function in a particular way? And that curiosity led me to become a better storyteller.
Right.
Long answer, but yeah, that's how it works.
Right. So through all these hoops in your careers, I think that's kind of evolved as and when you move to the next stage.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. That's how life is, right? You
Yeah.
cannot. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how old you are, and I'm sure you're not the same as what you were 10 years ago.
Right.
You're a very different person, and the fact that you're asking me questions is you're a storyteller.
Yeah.
Right? And it only happens with experience. With most of them, it happens with experience. Just that 0.001% is super talented that they could, like Amitabh Ghosh, for example. From childhood itself, I'm sure he could write. Or even Gore Vidal. From childhood, they could write and think. And that's a rarity.
Yeah. So I think curiosity is
Yeah,
the
element. For most of them, it has to be curiosity. And everyone has to tell stories. In fact, sales is storytelling.
Yeah.
you have to have hook. A lot of the BPO people who call us, these call center people, they have to weave in that story. 10-second attention, so difficult, right? And we're living in a very competitive world as storytellers. Either you keep them hooked to you because you've created a network over time, or if you don't have that network, if you look at a lot of the influencers, they need to catch young people with that one something that's snackable, something that they connect to. That's important. But anyway, today everyone's become a storyteller thanks to these mobile phones.
Right.
There's too many storytellers, in fact, which is good. Humans have to be kept busy somewhere.
Right. So, coming to today's topic at hand, since we are discussing on artificial intelligence and influencer marketing, so it would be interesting. I'd tell you a recent update. So, it's being said that artificial intelligence is going to contribute at least $500 billion to the Indian GDP by the year 2025.
I completely
right?
second that. In fact, it could be $1 trillion also. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So it would be an understatement to say that AI is big. I mean, everybody knows it is. But even so, right now, a lot of companies and startups still struggle with how they can leverage AI into their offerings, into their platforms. Especially, there are a lot of challenges with budgets and the knowledge that comes with it. So, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges companies face, and how could they overcome some of it?
With AI?
Yes.
Okay, I mean this is a question which humanity had to answer at some point of time, and I'm pardon me, I have to set this context in terms of the industrial revolution where we are and today, right? We have been individualized for the largest part of our timeline this millennia. It's 300 years that it's all been about individuals. And that's how capital also has built a structure around individual success. Individuals can make it. And for individuals to be efficient, this entire structure, an element of the political system maybe, is built around the efficiency of can you increase, for want of a better word, can you increase efficiency to an extent where today individuals can massively run things with very few people in their backyard or in their companies. Let me give you an example. You go to a factory today in Germany, the lights will be off, and you think that factory is off or people are not working there. But when you actually go switch on the lights, it'll be these thousands of robots working continuously. If you are a shareholder, would you want a worker to work continuously? Yes, right? Because it's your return on investment, and your shares will go from X to 1000X. Well, you have to realize you cannot ignore capital and you cannot ignore AI at the same point of time in terms of it's a function of these two forces. What has led to becoming AI in the forefront is some people say, yeah, it benefits humanity and all that. Some people look at therefore two arguments. Some people look at it as a benefit to humanity, and some people will use it to only increase profits. So it's a dilemma in society that's going to come about where we have to address this, where there will be job losses and companies will be ruthless in cutting jobs. Let me be very honest with you. It'll happen the world over. And how do we as humans be? But this is where humanity, as the human side of you and me, comes out, right? Okay, we are letting, say 2-3 things have happened. Today, 40 plus year olds or 50 plus year olds, people say, hey, they're too expensive for an organization. Let's get rid of them because there's a younger workforce. That happens, correct?
Right.
So AI will do the same to everybody. It doesn't care. And like I said, there'll be companies who will be generous to us and say, okay, we'll bring a good blend of AI and individuals. There'll be companies who will just say that, look, I'm going to use AI, I'm going to grow. Whose side are we going to take? Can the government do anything about it? No, they can't. I'm telling you, today, governments are the least powerful. It's these mega corporations. And don't mean conspiracy. It is out there. All you have to see is track the way things work. Today, corporations are the ones that control the world. So governments what can they do for you? They can just tax people and create infrastructure. So the governments have to think again now. If individuals don't have jobs, how will they pay taxes? How will they upkeep society? Then they have to come from that angle and then tax companies according to profits more. I mean, and by the way, taxing and if you tax corporates a lot more, a lot of my friends watching this will say, hey, you're anti companies or you're anti capitalist. No, I'm a capitalist, but I want, like Narayan Murthy uses to borrow his term, he says you need compassionate capitalism, right? And he says AI can fit in there. But if you're a businessman, you can never be compassionate because it's all about profits in the end of the day. And whether you like it or not, somebody will come and say, I've given you this much, how much have you made for me? And after that, if you have excess cash on your own, like I like the Zerodha guys, I like the Zoho guys, I like Infosys. They are the embodiment of using people and technology and ensuring that there is an ecosystem. We have to create ecosystems. And I again go back to um, history. History is so important for us. We all came from a jati ecosystem, and the jati is nothing but the corporate. And you came from a particular jati. I came from a jati of making bangles. We made bangles efficiently. We sold bangles, and that corporate protected you with property rights, marriage rights, and they'd have their own courts. So it is an ecosystem that worked before industrialization came about. Industrialization came and broke it. It again went, I go back to the term, individualism. And today, individuals are the ones who are running the world, and individuals to grow their profits will use AI for their benefit. But today, the world has to look at compassion. A lot of people in the world cannot catch up to AI, man, in terms of work. If people can blend the two, I think we're going to go into a dystopian future somewhere where we have to answer these questions. Where will AI take us? A lot of people have written books on this. My friends have written books on this. Atul Jalan has written the same exact title of Where Will AI Take Us? Atul is the founder of Manthan, by the way. But what I must tell you is we have no answers. Nobody has sat down in India. At least we've talked about data protection rights, when in Germany, they've already moved to an extent where they are talking about, if you're using AI, you need to tell us how ethical it is. Okay? And whose liability is it to say, okay, there are job losses, and is the human at an error? Is the AI at an error in case of an incident? Who do we blame? It's a legal framework today. And we have to look at the legal framework, the political framework. We have to look at individuals. We have to look at family units. We have to go back to a mode where not collectivism, but we need to think compassionately and say AI will do great things for us, but how does it really benefit humans, individuals? But there's these doomsday stories, right? They say that if the population of the earth will be close to 15 billion by 2050 or 2070, only about 10 million people will be running the entire world, and the rest of them will just be paid subvention by governments.
Right.
But it's much more deeper than that, and it's a scary situation. But yeah, at this point of time, AI gets all the publicity. People are happy. People say that my firm does AI. Hey, thumbs up to you. But is it real AI? I don't know. So we need to call that out.
Right. So I think with the concept of job security has predominantly now come into factor because of ChatGPT. I mean, that whole conversation has now evolved into a completely debatable matter. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, great. Again, I use ChatGPT. Let me start with fundamental music. Okay, today you can say that I want a song written like Frank Zappa, or say the Bee Gees or something, and it'll give you the chord progressions that they use, that this is how they do it. But you still need somebody to play it, right? And understand it, right? While it gives it to you, I thought, oh, this is great. Then I started saying, okay, here's a song of Frank Zappa. What is the timing that is it playing in? What is the time that it's playing in? Invariably, it gets it wrong. And a lot of kids think that's the right thing. It's not. You understand? And also ChatGPT makes it clear, right? That it's still learning.
Yeah.
Give it 15 years or less than 15 years. It will perhaps give you the right information and the right tools. My thought process is, if you are a writer, let me stick to writing, or a storyteller, or a podcaster like you are, instead of having I'd rather talk to you than an AI. You know, that'd be so boring. So you're making up questions basis your experience, but the AI would be precise, right? It can be trained. It can train itself to act like you, but it won't be original. So same thing with writing. All the writers, if you're watching this, you better be that good, because this will compete with you. And all the small jobs like, can you write me a contract? Gone. But what is needed from you is You should be able to correct it. You should be able to bring perspective. Humans will bring perspective, and it's your curiosity. For example, in the concert, you ask AI to play, it will play it so well. But why do we like a concert? Because the artist makes mistakes, and sometimes in those mistakes there is joy.
Right.
That mistake can actually say that this is great, man. But even the artist wouldn't know it. Some A note that he plays which is off key may sometimes actually sound good to you as the audience, but we are not able to pick it up, and that's why AI will come and do this and measure. But there is space for that too. People will consume that form of content. People will consume, but they have to realize this. Why are humans essential? That question they have to answer. If they say everything is AI, I think it's going to be boring. But from a company perspective, if you're working for a company as a writer, you better be very good. Show your writing skills, showcase your different styles, tell them that you can do the Oxford style or the Associated Press style, and that you know in and out of these writing formats, right? And then you have to read a lot. A lot of people have forgotten how to read. You read a lot, then you can beat ChatGPT because you're bringing perspective with experience. But yes, a lot of the low end work, like writing press releases, something where a single person can just say that this is what I want, it will write. And that's where a lot of youngsters have to struggle. And the fact is training. A lot of kids say, my college hasn't trained me, I'm not employable, but you have to make me employable. Therefore, corporations now will have to answer, will I spend time training this individual, or will I not? Or will I use ChatGPT? And that is again the existential crisis, profits versus humanity. Can you blend the both? It's tough. But yes, ChatGPT is here to stay, and please watch out. 10 years from now, I want to be sitting and doing interviews like the way I am. I don't want something taking over my work.
Right.
But that's where by then I would have evolved. I would have brought perspective to the world. Probably become a sage or something, right? And everybody will follow me. So there are people who are already doing that, right? Like Sadhguru and all of them, wonderful people.
Yeah.
So perspective is what brings people to you. And will they learn? Yes, they have to learn. You can't come and say, hey, Aritra, you're the answer. Now, please guide me. No, you have to tell them that ChatGPT will replace you. But you have to, for you not to be replaced, know your stuff, know your work. Don't be, people are generalists today, right? They do everything, right? I mean, I'll start from my generation and then move on to the rest. We were the first ones who were exposed to a lot of information globally. And we thought world is globalized and let's do everything. Let's learn guitar. You learn music in a very minuscule way. As you memorize songs and you play. But music is memory part, yes. But you need to play with feel. The AI will beat you to it if you don't know your music. And these are questions. And same with work. You can't come and say they'll train me and I can take it for granted. You'll be out.
I mean, it's all evolving, right? I mean,
Yeah.
now there is AI. Back then, when we were kids, internet used to be a whole thing. Like, okay, we have the internet. Before then, when we used to, we wanted to know song lyrics, we would typically listen to it and write it on a
you try to
notepad.
think, yeah.
I mean, we did that typically. You tried to memorize it and then note it down
Yes.
somewhere. And then the internet came along and that was
Yeah.
never an issue. Now there's AI. There's something always
Some
happening.
technology coming and going,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
But this is, I must tell you, Aritra, this is, I must be painfully telling you this is something else that humanity can't handle. You need to think twice. Again, going back to the original subject, the corporations will not wait, and business will not wait, and hence AI can be a double-edged sword. I'm not saying become a Luddite and carpet ban this thing. In the 60s, I've heard of stories. I'm not that old, but because again, sorry, in the 60s, people of the Life Insurance Corporation in the late 60s went on a strike saying the early computers, when they were being brought into India, they said no.
Yeah.
But did it impact their lives? No. It was just record keeping. Record keeping, yes, you had people writing on books, one book here, one book here. That changed that person's job. But did it affect the majority of society? No, it did not, because they went and became, okay, now we use record keeping on a computer, we record and move on, right? The same guy can be trained.
Right.
But in terms of AI, you don't even need this person.
Right.
That is the problem. And if your question is, will we be able to, it's another technology out here and we will evolve? Yes, of course we will evolve. We need to answer the underpinnings of it, which we are not ready for.
Yeah, I think storytelling is also very big in influencer marketing space
Yes.
as well. Brand marketers, and now more so because of these debates that are happening over authenticity, influencer authenticity,
Mm.
whether they're actually saying, parroting off scripts, or whether they have
Mm.
genuinely used the products
Yeah.
themselves and tried it out. So there's a big gap there.
Very
Storytelling is a
brilliant
big
question.
factor now.
Brilliant question. I think any company asking, meeting somebody, if AI can help influencers scale up their campaign, say if they sign up, say we'll take an example. There's one we were talking about a guy before our conversation here who uses his relationships. He's now doing interviews with ministers and all that, right? And if he has to do a campaign for the government, he can't do it individually. He may have a small team, but to scale up I have a Fortune 1 client with me. Fortune 1 client upstream has a Fortune 1 client. I'm putting it out there. They have their scale of campaigns are huge, and they ask you for 100 choices. AI can help in design. AI, like I said, can help in copy, and therefore make your campaign stronger and faster, better, efficient. Right? I mean, we typically take 3 days to deliver at least 20 designs, for example. It's a lot of time. According to me, it's 20 designs the AI can give you in probably an hour, maybe.
Right.
Right? And allow the influencer to actually go out and sell better.
Right.
So influencers now can use AI, can keep their small team, and productize campaigns.
Right.
They don't have to go to any agency anymore,
Mm-hmm.
which is a mom and pop shop with people. So it's great for me because I can then tell stories. I don't have to go and hire people that I will only do 20 designs, right? I'm being very honest
Mm-hmm.
because the client will not be happy. But what I'm also suggesting is if I can I can build an AI saying I'm also using AI. Here are the AI designs. Here are my people's designs. Which one do you like? And then a combination of the two, pay me for that.
Right.
That's a compassionate way of looking at it. But in terms of efficiency, influencer marketing is here to grow with AI because they're individuals.
Right.
Therefore, they're influencers. They have 3-member, 4-member teams. But to build an entire organization and an agency around campaigns, say hundreds of thousands of clients, say, okay, an average agency will have, say, 10 to 15 clients. But if they have to double or triple, AI can help them.
Right. I think influencers can also leverage
Yeah,
platforms
yeah.
like Kofluence and other
Absolutely.
tech platforms to take away those menial tasks and focus more so on storytelling and focus things more about creatively how can they strategize their content.
Yeah.
I think that's something that,
And I submitted to you
yeah,
before the conversation that I need support and Kofluence. I said I might want to sit and talk to you guys about
yeah,
this, right?
yeah,
If AI can help me scale up my campaigns for clients,
right,
why not?
yeah,
I might want to experiment. The client may say, oh, it's not original, but I can tell them that yes, I can use the services of an agency.
right,
I can also use AI now and give you more choices and do it faster, better.
yeah,
Instead of 3 days, reduce the timeline to 1 day for 40 designs. Isn't that fantastic?
yeah,
I don't know, but you have to tell me, can AI give 40 designs in a day?
yeah.
It can, right?
It
Or
can,
more.
it can. The sky's the
So there you
limit.
go. So
Yeah.
there you go. And who's going to win? AI is going to win.
Right. And especially so in the influencer marketing space currently, it's very fragmented.
Yeah,
It's
extremely.
disorganized. There's no singular marketplace as such. So I think that is where tech and AI
Yeah.
are becoming huge
It'll
now.
help them build organizations that are sustainable
Right.
and not die out. Most influencers have a timeline like a band, 6 years. I've lasted 20 years
Right.
not being an influencer. Again, you have to, the timeline is important. If they want to build sustainable institutions, they have to use tools like this
Right.
and build an organization around it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you're absolutely right. AI can help.
Yeah, I think scale is also
It's
another
outscale.
very, very important thing that companies usually struggle
Yes.
with. I mean, they do one-off campaigns, one-off
And
influencer collaborations, but that
yeah,
rarely reaps them benefit,
yeah.
right?
Today it's funny, right? The world, again, the internet, social media has allowed people to say, I make 10 lakhs a year, I'm happy. But some influencers make crores or millions of dollars. So it only depends on the individual. Where do they want to take AI? Do they want to get into the $1 million bracket? If you get into a $1 million influencing bracket, there is an organization behind you. And especially if you're doing B2B, there has to be an organization behind you. If you're a single influencer, like I see all these rock stars becoming individuals, right? And they do campaigns now. They work with music. They work with music. What is that? Companies like EMI and Warner. They work with them to create their own podcasts. They will need this if they want to scale it up in a large way.
Right.
But what the ultimate problem here is, it's the individual's choice. Does that person want to build an organization, or does that person want to be alone and say that, can I, but again, I'll answer your question easily. Can I take my revenues from, say, from 1 crore to 10 crores using AI? Definitely possible. You don't need to add more team members. But do I want to get from 10 to 1,000 crores? You need an organization.
Right.
That is a different take. And AI is let's say it's your airplane. You need to know how to use it.
Right. So before we wind up this conversation, I thought we could have a quick rapid fire round with you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'll try to be as fast as I can.
Okay.
Go on.
So, first question. If you could interview any historical character, who would you want to interview?
It can be from a comic.
Yes. Fictional,
Okay.
historical.
I mean, a real character. I'll tell you, fictional would be Asterix and Obelix for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and even Tintin. Okay, but on the real side, I definitely want to go talk to Julian.
Okay.
Julian the Emperor
Oh.
in 3rd century Rome, because Rome is decaying and he wants to bring the old ways back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy I'd want to talk to.
What is your guilty pleasure TV show at the moment?
I'm really loving that Carlos Ghosn's the rise and fall of Carlos Ghosn. It's on Apple TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend that because it's about a powerful CEO who took Renault and Nissan to great heights, but conspiracies behind him and he himself being too greedy, I think, put him in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy who escaped the Japanese judicial system by hiding in a box
Mm-hmm.
and flying off in his personal plane.
Mm-hmm.
He escaped the justice system that way. They took him in a cello box and they took him back to Lebanon where the Japanese cannot extradite him. So that's a wonderful show.
Oh, that reminds me of Pablo Escobar for some reason.
Yes, in fact, Carlos Ghosn is from South America.
Oh, is it?
He is, but he's in no way legal. He's not a smuggler or anything. He's a great corporate CEO
Okay.
where things went bad for him. But it's a show you must watch. He is from that region. You're right. Not from Colombia, but I think it's Brazil. Yeah, it's Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah. But you should check it out.
Okay. If you could swap jobs for a week with somebody, who would you want to swap it with?
What type of job? Depends on the
Anything.
job. It's jobs I can execute? Is that the question?
Sure.
Okay. If I want to swap a job, I want to swap the job of becoming a guitar player in a band.
Anyone
be a job.
particularly?
I definitely want to play rhythm guitar. I mean, if I want to, the name of the person would be my guru Vinish, amazing guitarist. He's my role model, and I want to play like him.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that role. Maybe he could come and do the podcast, and I could go play for sure.
Okay. Who is your favorite influencer at the moment? Anybody you keep up with or follow?
Rick Beato. Rick Beato is a YouTuber. He's a guru. He's a musician. I think what he's done for the world of music is fantastic, and compared to everyone, he's had the most influential aspect in my life this point of time, because I am going through something where I want to be solitary, think bigger things. I want to be a human who can be learning deeper things, and so Rick Beato helps because he analyzes music like no other. I'd recommend it.
Okay. And with that, we are at the end of the episode. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in and supported Kofluence Unplugged. You guys are amazing. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our episodes. Stay tuned for further much interesting episodes coming your way. Till then, all you have to do is stay safe, stay kind, and keep Kofluence.